correct place. If you look at the name here and the name in the program, you'll see a difference, but the content will be the same.
Absolutely.
I would like to start off with 3 facts, which I hope Iryna was going to be expanding on. Did you know that 55% of smartphone owners use some kind of location-based service? 12% of all smartphone owners use some kind of check-in service. And people spend an average of 10 minutes per day playing games. Hopefully we can see a merging of all those things in the presentation we're about to hear. If you were here earlier, you'll understand I'm giving away small trivia prizes for a question. Today's question, I'm afraid, is a little technical. Most location-based services use GPS. GPS uses satellites. Can anybody tell me, to the nearest 1,000 kilometers, what the altitude of GPS satellites is? If you want to guess, I'll go higher or lower, and then we'll give the prize away. It's much lower than 120 kilometers. 120,000 kilometers.
80.
It's lower again. Significantly lower than 100, 180. Lower than 30,000. Lower? 20,000. There we go. We have a winner. The cameraman, surprise. Thank you. Iryna, please go ahead.
Thank you for a great introduction, Nick. I'm happy to see you all here today. It looks like we're going to be having a presentation in close circle. So we'll start, but probably many of you haven't heard about CloudMade and what we do, so we'll just start about CloudMade in a few words. So CloudMade started 3 years ago as a location platform for developers of different kinds of sizes who were building location-enabled applications. This went pretty well. We have built a community of over 23,000 of developers by now. And at the end of 2010, we started to receive a lot of requests from game developers. So guys would come up to us and be like, okay, we're thinking about this game that would use player's location and do all these cool things. How is that possible technically? Could you help us? And stuff like that. So we realized that this is something interesting. We started exploring, and that's how we came up with actually building services, specific services for game developers. And that's what we've been focusing on in 2011. And in the meantime, we've been talking to a lot of game developers and publishers and got really interesting input on what's going on with location in games. And we were surprised to see that things are really getting traction here, and some of the cool stuff I'll be sharing with you today. So today we will talk about mobile gaming evolution and how location fits into it, how it's changing the rules. We will cover the key benefits for the location brings for developers and for users. Why is it exciting? Why would you want to add location to your games? We will talk about using location right, so you know what not to do with location in your games. And we will actually show you some examples, some really simple examples of what can be added to your game to make it location enabled and how you can benefit from it. And we will, of course, touch the topic of monetization that location brings in. Really very brief look back at the time when there were only PC and console games that we just talked at the previous presentation. So we all know that PC and console games were sold through actual stores. They were played in TV, in front of a TV in the living room. They were monetized. They were very well monetized, so high revenue per user. The market grew really well and fast, and it reached $60 billion by now, with mobile share being only less than 3%. That's how it was. That's when mobile and social games entered the place. So people started playing games everywhere. They can do it everywhere, but research shows that they still tend to play just at like 1 or 2 usual locations during the day. They have opportunities to play single mode, to play multiplayer, massively multiplayer games. And key business models that are used here are paid download, ads, and virtual goods, with the paid download gradually being replaced with the 2 latter models. The main challenge that we face here is that developers are getting low revenue per user. So basically, mobile games provide really good reach in terms of number of people playing those games and the time spent playing. But none of the three monetization models that we just talked about really provides opportunity to fully benefit from that huge reach, to monetize the huge audience that mobile games are engaging. The market has actually grown, reached $70 billion, and mobile share is still growing. It's now a little over 5%, but we believe that this is going to change significantly. We are talking about the games made for people on the go now. That's what's just starting. That's a new phenomenon. It's starting now, and we believe that this is going to change the market really significantly in the next 5 years. So basically, the point here is that games are starting to be made specifically for people who are on the go, who play games in different locations during the day when they have spare time, at school, on the backseat of the car, at a store, like anywhere basically. And the thing here is that they get different experience based on where they play. So imagine, well, about imagining we'll talk a little later, but this opens up new opportunities for different monetization models that were not available or were not possible without these new location-based features. And that's what's interesting about location-enabled games. We believe that each game will be monetized through combination of all the three monetization models that we talked about, and added with sponsored locations added as the third model that is going to be bringing real revenue here. Basically, the market overview is interesting, but most of you are probably still not sure like why you want to use location in your games. Let me ask you a really quick question here. Like, how many of you guys have ever played a game that used location to somehow change the gameplay or make it more exciting? Could you please raise your hands? Few people. Okay, what if I say that we believe that by the time we meet here next year, there will be at least 50% of people raising hands, and at least 30% of mobile developers will have been involved with development of a location-enabled game. Does that sound a little optimistic, surprising? Well, we'll talk about why we think so. So what are the real benefits of using location in the games? First of all, developers get to target the really huge audience of people who who play their games on mobile devices at different places, lots of places during the day. And they target it because they provide specific game experience for them. So every time I come to a new location, I know my game will change somehow, and I'm actually interested in trying out and playing, which leads to the second point, that location brings more reasons to play your smartphone games in different locations, which leads to increased time spent playing and increased possibilities for monetization. If I see that my game is somehow changed according to my location, I see the similar features in my real world and in my game world, I understand that the game is personal and it appeals to me a lot better. So location games are more relevant and more personal. Location also allows developers to mix real-world features with the game and just to make real life seem like an extension of the game and the game be a part of real life, which is super exciting actually. If more of you have tried the game, you would know that too. The location-enabled game, I mean. And actually the fifth benefit is one of the most important here, I think, because all developers face the challenge of effective promotion of your games, and location encourages people to actually share information about your new game. So let's imagine, like, if I am sitting with my friends, I'm not going to be very likely to tell them that I've just played Cut the Rope for a millionth time for a year. But if I know that I've just played at the airport and something really exciting and new happened when I played, I'm actually probably going to tell them, my friends, and they will just very likely try the game themselves, and that's how the marketing works. And you know that this type of advertising is the best. So basically, the point here is that location creates more relevant and immersive gameplay, which makes it natural for a user to give out information about his location. So when an iPhone app asks, would you like to share your location with a game? A user will say yes, because he knows that this brings him a lot more opportunities, a lot more excitement, and a lot more fun. And this way, a developer can actually start benefiting from revenue models that are available only for location-enabled apps and games, just like location-based advertising and sponsored locations. By the way, sponsored locations I will just cover a little bit in more details closer to the end of the presentation. This is a little slide to show you the variety of the extent to which location can be used in the game. If we look at the left low corner, we see the hardcore games, the so-called location-based or location-dependent games, geocaching, where I go, seek and spell. These games are all about location. They use real-world maps. They actually require you to move around in order to play, and we kind of feel that this is a little bit too much about location. Yes, they appeal to some part of the audience that wants to move around and do fun stuff, but that's not what casual gamers normally look for in the games. So we move to, nope, sorry. So we move to games that are location aware, what we call them. These games just have really tiny elements of location, like they might only show local leaderboards, even hyper-local leaderboards, so you can become #1 in a cafe, not #1 million in your country, which is a lot more exciting, I think. But this is cool, but this is still not enough, and it might not be enough reason for a person to give out his location information just to get that. So we'll talk about the middle here, but let's just take a quick look at the social side of the games. We put location-based social networks on the scheme. Of course, they're not exactly games, but they have like game-like user experiences. And the thing is here that we feel that it's important to have a balance in the amount of social in your game as well. So if you use too much social, if your game absolutely requires you to have your friends online to play, this is limiting. That's how you're just cutting the part of your audience basically off. But you still want to make people able to play with their friends and share, so social is important. So that's why we talk about the sweet spot that we call location-enabled games. That kind of games uses location through across multiple game elements like game physics, game objects, game graphics, and they use the right amount of social. So they are social and local enough to make it more fun for you to play at different locations and with your friends, but not too much, so they don't actually require you to move around or to play with your friends only. This is what we feel is the perfect place to be for casual developers. The examples of such games are Life is Crime, Shadow Cities, My Kingdom. Life is Crime, by the way, was powered by CloudMade. You can check it out. It's an Android game. That's what we suggest. Some developers do decide to use maps in their games. If you do that, you want to make sure that they don't look like Google or Bing, so they don't fall out of overall game experience. Of course, there are services available for that within CloudMade as well. If you look at this map, keep switching buttons. So if you look at this little maps, it looks game-like. This one does too. So you don't have to make the user feel like they're out of the game when they're looking at the game. And why you want to use maps? Maybe because you want to show where the friends are playing, or maybe because you want to show like hyper-local leaderboards that are available next to the user. But that's actually the fun part. We say that location can be used in almost any game. It can be very simple, it can be very sophisticated, and here we will show you some just really few examples like of what a game elements can be added to a game. We're not trying to impress you with the graphics or anything, you are not game designers, but this is just to basically activate your imagination in the right direction. So we, like as you see, you can basically adjust the background in the game so it fits the location of the player. It basically makes him feel at home, it makes him feel special, and this way, if I'm sitting here and I'm playing Cut the Rope between the sessions, I'm not getting the same pictures, the same experience as the person who's sitting in New York, like my friend, sitting on the bench of like Central Park. She'll see totally different stuff in her game. And my sister, who's playing in Kyiv too, but she's like at one of like Kyiv schools, will get totally different experience as well, starting from background and ending to and leading to other game elements. Another thing that developers have come up with, that some of the developers we have talked to, and some of this is already used in the games, is using real-world weather in the game. This is like, there are some avid players who might even discover that it's raining in real life by seeing rain in the game, because they get so engaged with the game that they don't really look outside. That's one of the cool things. Or you can make this like platform slippery, for example, when it changes the real weather. So this is all about the mixing real world with the game in the world, with the game world. Another thing that is used is actually synchronizing night and day change in the game with the real world change. So if I'm playing, again, in different time zones, people play the same game, but they have different stuff according to the time zone they're in. And this one is actually the one I like most of all. This is the idea that is also starting to be used, that you can provide different in-game benefits based on the location of the player. For example, if I'm passing the hospital, I can get an extra life. If I'm at food place, I'm getting extra energy, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to tell people you need to go to McDonald's to get this and that. But if the person is there, he or she will be notified and will receive some benefits in the game. And this leads up to the monetization opportunities that I have mentioned before, that are open only to the games that use location. And here we're talking about sponsored location. Basically, the scheme works this way. A user that when he is a certain specific type of place that is chosen by developers, he receives some kind of a benefit. It can be a virtual benefit, like a new life or some power, or it can be like a free cup of coffee at the coffee shop. Users happy, we all love free stuff. Sponsors who are retailers or brands are also happy because they receive more traffic in their stores and they increase sales this way. And the developer is actually super happy because he gets satisfied customers who want to play more, and he has sponsors who bring him money. This scheme is working. We have built the service with one of the service to use this type of monetization for one of the big publishers. It's actually coming up very soon in the end of the year, so you'll be hearing some really cool announcements about that, so stay tuned. But we're now looking for more developers, more big developers and publishers to work on the service, to integrate it too. So basically, that will be summarizing my presentation. Just wanted to, again, stress out that we have been talking to a lot of leading game developers and publishers during the last nine months. We know that there are more than 30 games coming up in the Q1 of the 2012 that will use location. And some of them are in production, some of them are in planning stages. So you will be hearing a lot of cool announcements. The market is changing, and you have a chance to catch up with it. Christian, who is unfortunately not here today, who was supposed to be leading a session, he's very sorry, by the way. He is always happy to talk to developers and publishers to discuss their ideas of using location in games, to hear feedback. So feel free to come up to me after sessions and discuss anything you have in connection with this. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Do we have any questions for Iryna?
Yes, please.
Hi. Nice presentation. I like it. And what of the location-based mechanics did you actually try, and what particularly worked for your games? It will be interesting to know.
I'm sorry, location-based?
Mechanics that you used practically in your games, and which one actually worked out the best? Any particular examples?
Okay, so like I said, most of the games that use our services are still in development. So among the ones that have been produced is Life is Crime, and that you can check out is like just one of the that has been developed. But interesting stuff has been used with the platforms that are sliding according to the weather. But I cannot show you the real examples right now, because they haven't been produced yet, basically. But this is the only one. The thing how it works here, we provide you the data. Basically, we provide the mechanism for you to get the data about where the user is, whether if you want to know whether he's now in the city or in the countryside, whether you decide what kind of data you need, and we work with other data providers. We use our own sources, and we basically give you that data, and you decide what to do with it. So the game mechanics part is your side. Whatever you want to do with it, you can.
What is the business model between B2B, between us as a developer and as provider of data?
Thank you, that's an important question. Basically, we adjust to the business model of the developer. So if you guys use paid download, we take a share for, we can discuss it in more details after the presentation, but the main thing is we support all the three business models that we talked about. And we just either provide location-based advertising or talk about virtual downloads, virtual in-app purchases that we take a share, and or paid download. So all of
Is
those.
there always aware about his location, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. User has to know that his location is being used, if that's what you're asking about, right? That's how it works on iPhone, for example.
Hello. You seem to not like idea of location-dependent games. Do you think that this will not catch up? Because I don't know if there are some very successful projects which are location-dependent. For example, that Shadow Cities.
Shadow Cities, yeah.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, personally, I love the idea of location-dependent games. I am presenting in this way because I'm trying to be objective. I'm facing the casual game developers here who I know they need to engage with a larger audience that needs, that really the reality is that most people don't like to be told what to do. Like, you have to go to this place in order to play, you have to do this. There is this percent that likes to do that, and that's the audience, but it's a lot smaller. So if you want to get huge revenues, that's not the target. It might be enough for some developers, so this is a good part of the business to be into. Shadow Cities, I like it personally a lot. My Kingdom, Parallel Kingdom, My Town are other good games that do that. They are successful, so you can still enter the space and do that. I'm just saying that there is a lot more opportunity within this perfect location-enabled spot that we were talking about. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. Another question? Maybe I can ask one.
Yes, please.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about the privacy concerns about people broadcasting out their position and what your policy is for how much you retain that data and the accuracy to which you retain that data?
Okay, thank you for the question. Of course, this topic is really widely discussed everywhere. Of course, the question is obvious. So basically, all the data, location data that we use is anonymous always, and we do not store it as we just use it for one-time use. So it's not stored on our service or anywhere, so the privacy issues. It's always discussed with every single developer that starts using our services, because there are additional requirements sometimes that we have to meet that developer sets. So that's basically the thing.
Okay, we should all thank Iryna for the presentation, and she will be around afterwards if you have additional questions.
Yep.
Thank you.